Jakarta has the biggest bus rapid transit system in the world, designed as a high-capacity, high-speed solution to getting around one of the most chaotically congested cities anywhere. Yet the system has become dysfunctional and failing. We're going to talk over the next slides about what's wrong with the system, and at the end, we're going to try to think about what can be done to make things right. If you're wondering why there's no picture of a bus on this opening slide, it's because the problem lies in the cars intruding into the supposedly bus-only facility. My primary interest in visiting Jakarta was to explore the city's fabled Trans-Jakarta bus rapid transit system, and the experience was both raw and telling. Opening in the year 2004, the system currently carries about 124 million annual passengers on about 145 route miles. However, riding Trans-Jakarta is an uncomfortable experience, making it the choice of only those who have little other choice, and encouraging wealthier people to abuse its facilities by driving their unauthorized vehicles on bus-only lanes, slowing bus operations and harming reliability. This is not only what bus service looked like prior to the arrival of Trans-Jakarta, but these battered buses continue in operation both where Trans-Jakarta has no routes and where service is needed in between the often long distances between Trans-Jakarta stations. Traditional buses are run down and lack air conditioning. Trans-Jakarta promised something much better. Trans-Jakarta buses are modern, air-conditioned, and kept clean. Most of them have only high entry doors, as you can see here, designed for use at purpose-built stations. Trans-Jakarta was designed to speed through traffic by operating on its own segregated lanes. When the going is clear, Trans-Jakarta buses race past the rest of the traffic, as they were intended to do. Trans-Jakarta buses operate primarily from purpose-designed stations in the middle of the road, with boarding through doors that are at a high level relative to the street and intended to be level with station boarding platforms. Most station design is simple and functional. A number of Trans-Jakarta stations fit stylishly into the surrounding environment, as you can see here. Passenger fare collection is completed at stations prior to boarding. Stored value contactless smart cards give access to entry to boarding areas via turnstiles. Departure boards indicate the expected arrival times of buses. Boarding systems, such as this overhead canopy, generally protect passengers from bad weather. A number of feeder buses operate off the principal Trans-Jakarta system, using special buses equipped with low-level entrances to permit access and egress at street-level bus shelters, like you see here. With stations located in the middle of busy streets, elaborate footbridges are required for access at many stations. As you can see from this massive passenger footpath, access to stations can require long walks. Access paths are often narrow and cross no man's lands of road traffic. Footpaths have sometimes developed worn surfaces and attract vendors and others that may compromise a sense of safety. The system is often highly unreliable, with long gaps between services and bunching of buses, as can be seen here. At the busy time of 9:35 in the morning, there is no departure expected from this stop for a further 11 minutes. Waiting areas can become crowded as well as desolate places. The stifling heat at Harmony Station, the biggest in the system, is too much for even operational staff to stay awake. Chronic crowding in boarding areas is endemic. A crushed crowd is seen here attempting to enter a bus at Trans-Jakarta's biggest interchange, Harmony. As you can see here, buses are often unable to pull up flush with boarding platforms. Here's a close-up, and you can see the dangerous gap that has to be crossed for boarding at this location. This type of gap makes the Trans-Jakarta system inaccessible to the elderly and handicapped. While buses often stop with a considerable gap between bus and platform, in this case the bus has got close up, but its entrance requires a high step up from the station platform, a further impediment to use by less able people, as well as dangerous for one and all. Buses are frequently highly crowded. You can see some pretty tired-looking passengers attempting to exit an overcrowded bus. Not all sections of Trans-Jakarta route are on separate protected rights-of-way. Considerable stretches of route are on regular roads in mixed traffic and subject to the same congestion as suffered by everyone else. This is a photo taken standing at the front of a bus where you can see the buses suffer severe delays in rush hour traffic. Unmanaged traffic leads to frequent gridlock and a much lower vehicle throughput than is possible on a properly managed road system. Motorbikes attempt to weave in and out of traffic, offering a faster alternative for those prepared to travel this way, but creating further chaos for everyone else. At least Trans-Jakarta buses are air-conditioned, but passengers can still feel desperate when trapped in traffic like this. Because most buses only have high-level doors, it is not possible to exit except at official stations that can be quite far apart. For this particular journey, it took me almost 2 hours to travel less than 3 miles. Bus drivers must be careful and slow down for obstacles, even in dedicated bus lanes. As you can see, people are sitting on the sides of the bus lane, and to the right, a boy is using the wall as a urinal. Trans-Jakarta buses don't have any sort of priority at major interchanges, of which there are considerable numbers. And as you can see here, traffic tends to block crossings, even when the bus should actually have a green light. It's trapped until the blockage is cleared. To make matters worse, there are frequent conflicts with traffic crossing bus lanes. As you can see here, when this happens, the bus driver just has to stop and wait. As you can see here, traffic waiting at a red light blocks the bus lane, and the bus simply has to wait for the traffic to clear. Gridlock has developed here, and the buses just have to wait until it clears up. In this scene, buses are blocked by backed up traffic that's intruding into the bus's path and preventing them from entering the bus lane. Switching briefly to Istanbul, you can see that the bus rapid transit system there has a far higher degree of segregation from other traffic than is the case in Jakarta. Much of the Istanbul bus rapid transit system has effective continuous barriers that prevent conflict between buses and other traffic. This isn't quite a fair comparison with Jakarta, as the Istanbul corridor you can see here follows a major limited access highway, whereas in Jakarta there's an awful lot of crossing of other arteries as the bus goes along its way. However, the point should be clear that an effective busway operation requires segregated traffic, and much could be done to reduce traffic conflicts in Jakarta. Returning now to Jakarta, you can see that not only do frequent unmanaged bus lane crossing places cause blockages of bus lanes, but they provide opportunities for unauthorized vehicles to illegally get access to the lanes reserved for buses only. Motorbikes are illegally entering the busway here, while cars moving to the left are blocking buses from making their own entry. When traffic is as backed up as it is here in regular traffic lanes, motorbike drivers prefer to illegally use bus lanes as sort of speedways rather than to have to weave through traffic. Cars illegally using bus lanes queue up behind parked buses, preventing other buses from entering stations to board passengers. In this scene, a car and motorbikes illegally enter a Trans-Jakarta station, while a car behind them blocks the busway altogether with a turning motion. Lack of enforcement, even at stations, encourages drivers of cars as well as motorcycles to violate the law and impede the movement of buses. In this extreme situation, buses have lost all advantages of a dedicated busway. They are forced to travel as slowly as the rest of Jakarta's highly congested, unmanaged traffic. Delays have serious consequences for bus system operations. Not only are severe schedule delays caused, but frequency is made uneven by unpredictable traffic flows, leading to long waits for passengers and high levels of overcrowding at stations. The delays both increase the operational cost per kilometer and mean that less service can be offered with a given level of buses and crews, because a given bus can make less journeys per hour than if the bus had a free right-of-way, as was intended. This in turn causes even more intense overcrowding on buses and further delays. So how has the situation developed? Not only is policing ineffective and generally absent in Jakarta, but a lack of political support for the principle of high-quality bus operation has led to confusion. In 2016, the city administration faltered in its stated intent to stop illegal use of bus lanes by cars because of a perception that excluding cars was in fact worsening congestion. The Jakarta governor gave instructions to focus enforcement on only one major corridor, sending a message to motorists that they were welcome to continue causing mayhem in all others. The mayhem might be a little less if there was some management, but with none in evidence, illegal turning movements lead to gridlock and further delays. Although the bus lane is marked here, it is treated as regular road. Car and motorcycle drivers do not care about the law, and the operation of effective bus service is made impossible. And now let's end by looking for some possible solutions. While there are many technical approaches to improving bus rapid transit operations on the Trans-Jakarta system, the primary obstacles, almost always ignored by international consultants as well as local officials, are political as well as organizational. The political establishment makes decisions with gut-level reactions that reflect a mix of needing to appease car owners stuck in traffic and a lack of knowledge of the consequences of their actions. Let's face it, local politicians and officials are thrown into a situation of almost impossible complexity and, without anywhere else to turn, tend to come up with the easiest immediate response. Policing, ineffective at the best of times, stands no chance of enforcing the law, given a lack of political will to back enforcement efforts. In addition, not only is road management that could play a critical role in improving traffic flows typically ignored, but how can an approach to management even be developed given city government's tacit, and sometimes not so tacit, acquiescence to violation of the law by motorists who illegally use bus lanes? International consultants and advisors like coming up with technical solutions that often ignore political realities. While technical design invariably receives higher priority than planning for effective management and good governance, consultants will sometimes advocate for improved management while still failing to chart a path of action to deal with political barriers. The way forward, if progress is to be made, has to come through a consultative process that draws together leaders from all sectors to examine their assumptions and try to form a consensus for change. It is only when such agreement is reached through constructive discourse that change is possible and participant bodies can be empowered to make it happen. As to the role of any outsiders, it should not be to supply ready answers, but to help make arrival at a solution possible by getting local leaders to understand and reflect on their goals and the alternatives such goals imply, and encouraging them to work with colleagues to iron out differences and forge a workable outcome that benefits all.